Welcome to today's daily PBJ devotional. If you're reading the Old Testament according to schedule this year, read Genesis 22, Nehemiah 11, and Psalm 21. This devotional is about Genesis 22. Let's read it. Sometime later, God tested Abraham and said to him, "Abraham." "Here I am," he answered. "Take your son," God said, "your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah. Offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, which I will show you." So Abraham got up early the next morning, saddled his donkey, and took along 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. He split the wood for a burnt offering, and set out for the place God had designated. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. "Stay here with the donkey," Abraham told his servants. "The boy and I will go over there to worship, and then we will return to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac. He himself carried the fire and the sacrificial knife, and the 2 of them walked on together. Then Isaac said to his father Abraham, "My father?" "Here I am, my son," he replied. "The fire and the wood are here," said Isaac, "but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the 2 walked on together. When they arrived at the place God had designated, Abraham built the altar there and arranged the wood. He bound his son Isaac and placed him on the altar atop the wood. Then Abraham reached out his hand and took the knife to slaughter his son. Just then the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham!" "Here I am," he replied. "Do not lay a hand on the boy or do anything to him," said the angel. "For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your only son from me." Then Abraham looked up and saw behind him a ram in a thicket, caught by its horns. So he went and took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering in place of his son. And Abraham called that place, "The Lord will provide." So to this day it is said, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided." And the angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time, saying, "By myself I have sworn, declares the Lord, that because you have done this, and have not withheld your only son, I will surely bless you, and I will multiply your descendants like the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will possess the gates of their enemies, and through your offspring all nations of the earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice." Abraham went back to his servants, and they got up and set out together for Beersheba, and Abraham settled in Beersheba. Sometime later, Abraham was told, "Milcah has also borne sons to your brother Nahor, Uz the firstborn, his brother Buz, Kemuel the father of Aram, Chesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel." And Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. Milcah bore these 8 sons to Abraham's brother Nahor. Moreover, Nahor's concubine, whose name was Reumah, bore Tebah, Gaham, Tehash, and Maachah. This is God's word. God sure liked to test Abraham, didn't he? Abraham trusted the Lord for all the things God promised him in the covenant. He moved to a new land and traveled around in it like a Bedouin, just as God had commanded him. Abraham received the wealth God promised him quickly and easily. However, he and Sarah waited for years for what they really wanted, the promised heir, Isaac, to be born. Now that Isaac was alive and growing up, Abraham must have been filled with thanks and happiness each day. That is, until God told him to kill Isaac here in Genesis 22. After testing Abraham and Sarah's faith by making them wait for Isaac, he would now test Abraham's faith by commanding him to do the hardest thing imaginable. And I can't help but wonder if Abraham told Sarah about God's command in this chapter before he and Isaac left for Mount Moriah. But anyway, the test that Abraham received in this chapter was a test of his heart. As much as he loved Isaac, would he fear God more? Although he did not understand what God's plan was in this chapter, Abraham followed God's commands quickly, according to verse 3, which says he got up early the next morning. And Abraham followed them completely, right up to the point where God stopped him from taking Isaac's life. God knew that Abraham would obey before he issued the command to kill Isaac. So why put Abraham and Isaac through this emotional ringer if God already knew what the outcome would be? Why did God test Abraham so often and so painfully throughout Abraham's life? Well, one answer is that God wanted to set an example for Isaac, Jacob, and everyone else in the nation of Israel to follow. God's people would face many choices to obey God's commands thoroughly and unconditionally. They would have to wait to inherit the promised land, just as Abraham had to wait for Isaac to be born. They would have to choose between loving what God gave them and loving God, just as Abraham had to do in this chapter. Have you ever had to risk losing or actually lose someone or something you love in order to be obedient to God? That takes faith. As you trust God in those moments, by doing what is right rather than what you want to do, you will see God work in your life in ways that you did not expect. Also, the trials and problems you face in life can, if you handle them in faith, give your children and others that you lead some footprints to follow in their own lives in following God. So let me encourage you, if you face a test where you have to give up something you love in order to remain obedient to the Lord, just trust the Lord in this and do what you know to be right and let God handle the rest. Abraham's story tells us that he will, and he'll do it faithfully. If you found this devotional helpful, please sign up to receive it every day in your email by going to dailypbj.com/subscribe, putting your email address in the box there, and every day for free, you'll receive an email with links to the audio, video, and a transcript of these devotionals, and that will help you to be in God's Word every day. I'm looking for financial support so I can keep making videos like this. If you'd like to help me, please go to dailypbj.com/support. And please share this with someone who can grow in their faith by it, and I'll see you next time. May God bless you. Hope you have a great day.